Socrates, I hear that awakening comes when we stop identifying with our minds. It is this identification that keeps us asleep and suffering. Can you explain this to me? Yes, Plato, the problem is not really the ego, but our tendency to identify with it. And when we stop identifying with our ego, we will be awakened. We identify with our thoughts, actions, and feelings. We think we are our thoughts and feelings. In addition, our thoughts, actions, and feelings are claimed by an elusive entity in our mind. It is the ego entity that takes credit for our thoughts and actions. In other words, our mind is hacked by the ego that pretends that it is us. It pretends it is our identity, and controls our mind and body. If you sit down to meditate and investigate your thoughts, you will realize that there is nobody inside your mind. There are just thoughts and feelings arising out of nowhere and appearing in your consciousness and awareness. Because we are usually busy doing things, we don't notice the hostile takeover of our minds by the ego. It arises as thoughts and out of nowhere to fill a need. A need for the administration of our chaotic thoughts, feelings, and desires because we are out for lunch. That is, we are not aware of our thoughts and feelings and live the administration on automatic pilot, the ego. Your ego is a combination of your consciousness and your thoughts, emotions, and the story of yourself. Your luminous consciousness, which is your true self, has identified itself with your ego mind and body. In so doing, your consciousness and your mind have merged, but without the source of your consciousness, which is the universal consciousness. Your mind's luminosity, if any, is derived from your consciousness. Your mind is the reflection of your consciousness. That is why your mind sometimes appears brilliant. Your ego mind is like the moon. It draws its light from the sun. It has no light of its own. Thoughts are dead and not aware that you exist. There are just objects appearing in your awareness. Your ego mind has usurped the luminosity of your true identity, your consciousness. Your ego mind is nothing more than the reflection of objects in a mirror. The mirror of your consciousness. The objects appearing in the mirror are not real. If you try to touch the objects in the mirror, you will break the mirror because there is only a mirror there. So, the ego made up of thoughts does not really exist except as a fantasy in your mind. Who you think you are or have become is nothing more than thoughts, impressions, and ideas in your mind. If you look to find yourself in your mind, you will discover that there is nothing and nobody there. You will only find scattered thoughts, feelings, and memories. Since the time you were a child, the identification of your consciousness with your body-mind complex occurred, and that is why this is so confusing. Whether one day you will find who you really are, namely, your consciousness, it really depends on, well, your consciousness and your karma. If somehow these find a balance, your consciousness may decide to lead you to experience your own consciousness independent from the activity of your mind. If that happens, you can find liberation from the illusion of your ego mind. It is like the great teacher from Bethlehem said, "No man can come to me, except God draws him to me." John 6 verse 44. So, it is God that draws us to him. However, note that unless we have some faith, God cannot help us because without faith it is impossible to please him, for whoever would draw near to God must believe that he exists and that he rewards those who seek him. Hebrews 11 verse 6. Before being drawn near to God, your ego is in control. Think of it like this: your ego thoughts have such a strong grip on your attention that the grip does not let your consciousness flourish. You are so involved with your mind activity because you identify with your mind. So you believe what arises in your awareness and think that your thoughts are you and that they are yours. But it is just a dream. It is like you're watching your favorite movie, and you get so wrapped up in it that you feel like you're the main character. This is what ego is similar to. It's like a personal movie in your head about who you are. It's created by your society, your thoughts, memories, desires, and fears. Your ego operates on desire, fear, and lack. Before discovering your true identity, you are controlled by your ego desires and fears. So, sometimes this movie can make you feel unhappy or stuck. It's because you believe that you have to play out the movie exactly as it's running in your head because you believe the thought to be your thoughts. If your thoughts were your own thoughts, you could decide to have only happy thoughts. However, most of our thoughts arise out of fear and lack. Our ego creates the sense of missing something and we get bored with the present situation. Our ego thoughts are always looking for a new and more exciting experience. With constant thinking, it makes us think that our current experience of what appears in front of us produces boredom in our minds. But the good news is that's not true. Just like you can pause a movie or even change the channel, you can do the same with your mind and the ego. When we meditate, it's like hitting the pause button. Your ego cannot function at the present time because it exists as thoughts, feelings, and memories of the past and fears and anxiety for the future. So, when you become aware of your ego acting up, you refocus on your awareness. You become aware of your awareness in the now. You keep on returning to your awareness so you come to the present where the ego vanishes. We step back and see these thoughts as they're just thoughts, not real life. We start to realize that we're not the character in our head movie, but the person watching it. We are our awareness, but our mind has blocked our awareness with a mental block and has gone tilt on autopilot, driving us towards the cliffs. Returning to our awareness doesn't mean we forget who we are or stop living our lives. It simply means that we stop getting so tangled up in your head movie that we forget to enjoy real life. So, the ego isn't you. It's just a movie created by your mind. You're not the character in the movie, you're the person watching it. When you understand this, you can start to enjoy life more without getting so worried about your thoughts and fears. It's about being here and now, not lost in your thoughts. The secret is to make this a habit. Like Krishna advises in the Bhagavad Gita, whenever and wherever the restless and unsteady mind wanders, one should bring it back and continually focus it on God. Chapter 6, verse 26. We have to build treasures in heaven because it is all about where our heart is. If our heart is with the desires and fears of the ego, we are building treasures on this earth. Our heart is where our attention is. Our attention is our awareness. If we stay vigilant, our attention will be in this moment where the vanity of the ego cannot be. We have to draw our attention to the present. Do not dwell in the past, do not dream of the future, concentrate the mind on the present moment. Buddha. Letting our mind think is like letting our mind be on autopilot. Our thoughts are attached to this world. Our minds will corrupt our hearts with the cares of this life. So, do not store treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. Store up eternal treasures in heaven, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Matt 6:21. Created by Elias Stassinos.